Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Eddie Draws. Today I'm going to be talking about how to animate a painting. I'll be covering a couple of approaches, so stay tuned and we'll figure out how to do this. Again, I'd just like to thank my patrons this month, Alex, Shannon, John, Dazakt and Chris. You guys are awesome, thank you so much for supporting me still. So let's get to it. How do you animate a painting? This is something I've been really wanting to get into lately. There's a lot of really cool animations, specifically those golden card animations from Hearthstone, you know, the ones that move around as you look at the card. I've been wanting to learn how to do these for ages, and I sort of had an idea about how to approach it, but I'd never really thought about doing it myself. So I used this painting to really explore that and went ahead and animated it. So I'd just like to sort of explain technically how I did this. So I think the best way to start is with layers. I'm sure you've used layers before in many different applications like Word or Photoshop. And this painting for Shannon shows all the layers that I used. Sometimes I use layers to save progress, so if I've done something and I want to change something, I might just duplicate the layer and try out the change, and if I don't like it, I'll go back to the old layer. But the most important aspect for animation here is that each layer can be either above visually or below visually another layer. So when we want to move things around, we can have foreground, midground, background, that sort of thing, by using layer stacking. So I use this effect along with a few other things that we'll discuss next to achieve an animated painting style. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Now, as you see in the background, we're carrying on painting the werewolf. You can see here that the animation that I did previous to this second part is bone animated. Now, what does that mean? Well, through developing my game, Orbo, you can see him here, the happy little orange cube. He's got loads of these white sort of triangle shapes. These are called bones. Now we can animate bones by connecting them to each other. It's called inverse kinematics. Or they can just be static by themselves, like the eye here. And when we play each frame of the animation, the bones can move. So we can really get into the nitty-gritty of animations here. You can see all the ones that I've got there. So we can go from running to an idle animation, and all the bones move differently. So how do we tell the bones what to do? Well, we attach the bones to the pieces of artwork, and they're all separately layered, as we talked about before. So all these layers stack each other, and we can move things separately. And there's a timeline on the bottom right there, and that's showing per frame or per second how each frame will move. Now, we can make this way more complicated by doing it with a painting instead of a single figure. Now, you saw there that the figure has lots of these dots on it and a blue outline around the outside. That's called a mesh. And what we do is we attach these bones to the mesh by using something called weights. Now, if we edit the weights, we can see that the yellow bone has influence over the yellow part of the mesh, the blue bone over the blue part of the mesh, and so on and so forth. So that when we move the bone, it moves all of those dots that are associated with it, and it deforms the mesh. Now, long story short, we can use this with cool paintings like this werewolf, and we can make really interesting changing animated scenes like we see in the next part, which is the werewolf biting off the vampire's head and the knight thrusting his sword through her. So I thought this would be a really interesting way to sort of explain my process. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more in the future. Thanks very much.